You are now tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Friday night, laid back, feeling smooth. Looking for just a little something to get into. Tired of the same old scene. So when I saw you, there was no in between. You came up to me like something from out of my dreams. A woman from the pages of a magazine. Deep inside my heart, you scream. I can't understand. Hey, just wanna hold you, hey, baby. How you do the things I'm watching you do. Oh, we're in this love. Just wanna make some love. All I wanna do, my girl, is dance with you. Now we're in this club, your cheek pressed to my face, trying not to lose control, but I ain't got no time to waste, cause I you up in the club, and it would be a lot of your love for my body. That's what I'm thinking of. Hey.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
And as always, thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. As always, yes, your eyes don't deceive, ladies and gentlemen, is your host, Nathan Snell of the Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 479. It has been a few weeks since you last saw me. I think the last episode we did was actually Maryland Women's basketball, just before they went off to Puerto Rico. Before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. There's a lot of catch-upping up to do. The NFL season, there's literally 2 weeks left of football. We got a debrief on Maryland football. Today, the Maryland women's basketball team had their final non-conference game, field trip day, as they defeated Central Connecticut. So I was there covering that game. Shout out to the Maryland women's basketball team. And recapping and previewing the Baltimore Ravens as they play the New England Patriots this week, and the Washington Commanders as they have to play the Philadelphia Eagles. That should be interesting. The Baltimore Orioles made some news, made some splashes this free agency, but I have kept keeping my word on talking about the Orioles in terms of free agency, and I have a WNBA mock draft. It's finished. Give me about another after the holidays, because especially now, I think a month after, I've kind of put it all together, I think, for just a 1.0 mock draft. But with that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe for our future content of the podcast. It's much appreciated. And with that being said, I have a very special guest, as you see in the title of this video. We have connected a few times. I was actually on this gentleman's podcast a few months ago, and I'm glad that we have stayed in touch. This is a very basketball aficionado, definitely knows the stuff, especially with college. Even the NBA and WNBA, so much I've learned from him and still learning from him. But ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put your hands together for the one and only Nick Andre. Nick, what's going on, sir? How you doing?
What's good, man? Appreciate you having me on, man. I mean, I know we've been trying to make this happen for a minute, man, but I'm glad to be on. And that was one hell of an intro, man.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Andre, he's part of the Best Damn W show, also part of Team MBS Media, which we're both a part of. And just for those, Nick, just can you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Nick Andre. I'm pretty much like a basketball analyst covering pretty much everything, more so women's basketball, but I'd also dive into a little bit of NBA, obviously men's college basketball, high school. I've been doing this for now I've been like a little over 7 years, going on 8 years now. Been writing podcasts and just doing a multitude of things. So if you do follow me on social media, you'll see consistent content, like whether it's articles, whether it's just clips of basketball games, or me just giving my opinions on hoops, man. You'll see everything who's related on all my social media pages.
For sure. The first question I have for you is, where did your passion for sports journalism begin?
Well, I was always a hooper. I mean, I fell in love with basketball since I was like probably 2-3 years old, honestly, and then it just pretty much carried on from then on. As far as like my passion for journalism, like I guess you could say like my favorite my favorite subject in school was English, so I pretty much love like the writing side of things and all that. And obviously that was my favorite subject. Then, like I said, I mean, I loved hoop. I played hoops. I watched hoops like constantly throughout my entire life. And one thing I always said is that obviously when you're a hooper, you have NBA aspirations. Like, everybody wants to make it to the big league. But one thing that I always told myself was, even if I don't make it into the league, I want to find a way to be close to the game, whether that's playing in like a rec league, whether that's coaching, or whether that's, covering sports. So, as a hooper, me always watching hoops, I would always watch like the ESPNs of the world. I'm watching First Take with Stephen A, or I'm watching NBA Countdown, whether it's with, I don't know, Jalen Rose or Paul Pierce or whoever it is, whoever was on NBA Countdown at that time. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, like they're just having fun talking hoops. Like, I can do this as well, and I can do it at a very high level. So my journey pretty much started in 2018. I didn't really have an outlet to really write anything, so I created my own like Blogspot account. That's how I really just started releasing articles. So I did that. And then a couple years later, I started my own other blog titled Above the Rim. And, that got a lot of traction where I was covering literally everything basketball from NBA, WNBA, college, high school. I even dabbled into like some big three and, of course, Olympics. So I was pretty much dibbling and dabbling into literally everything. And I think that's where kind of everything kind of went on from then on. And that's part of the reason why I'm here now is just, staying consistent and just, continue to put out good work.
You spoke on the, I'm going to have follow up. You spoke on being a basketball player. Now, where did that start?
I'll say since I was like probably 3 years old. So it was so funny because I was thinking about this probably like a couple weeks ago. I was talking to one of my friends, and it's like I've always just had a passion for hoops. Like, I remember when I was like probably 3, 4 years old. Like, this is around a time when like Space Jam was like one of the biggest movies out, especially for like young hoopers. And I had my own like little basketball, like I had like my own like little basketball goal that I used to like hang on like my bedroom door, and I would just try to like redo like every scene in Space Jam. And then obviously doing that, and then of course me just like I was watching hoops at a young age. Like, I'm talking like 4 or 5 years old. Like, I'm watching Shaq and Kobe Lakers. I'm literally watching that. Like I had a nice little combination of like watching cartoons, but then also watching hoops at the same time. So like to see where I am now, continuing to just still be passionate about the game and just being able to still watch the game and love the game, it's just really honestly insane because I've literally been doing this since pretty much I was young.
Could you give us players that you try to model your game after, and then also your top 5 players?
I'll give you my 3 that I know for sure. Obviously, my favorite player was Kobe. Like, Kobe was literally my everything since I was a little kid. Like, I literally tried to model my game after Kobe. Like, the fadeaway. I even try to like stick my tongue out whenever I drove to the basket like Kobe. Like, I used to like literally like try to just do everything based on Kobe. So like that's definitely my number 1. Number 2, I'll probably say D Wade. I grew up a big D Wade fan. Especially after watching him in 06 when they beat Dallas in the finals. Like, that's when I really became a big D Wade fan, and just watching just his athleticism and just the different ways that he could score. I know that people feel away about Dwayne Wade today, especially like in today's climate of basketball. But if you watch D Wade back in his prime, especially in the early days before the big 3 with LeBron and Chris Bosh, like D Wade was literally that guy. And I literally admire D Wade, especially early on in his career. And then the third one I'll say is Kevin Garnett. Like, I love Minnesota Kevin Garnett, even Boston Kevin Garnett, honestly. Like, Kevin Garnett just played with like just a different passion and intensity. And I try to model that. I try to like really model like my mindset after Kevin Garnett. Just, coming into the game with passion, getting fired up, trying to get your teammates going as well when I used to hoop. So like Kevin Garnett was another huge influence for me, just based on, how he came out and performed every night.
You spoke on modeling your game after Kobe. Like, being from Florida, could you just speak on Florida basketball? And I feel like I know people like to speak on people from the DMV in basketball, but I feel like Florida basketball in Florida doesn't truly get its flowers that I feel like it deserves, in my opinion. Could you just speak on basketball, especially in Florida?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously it gets kind of caught under the radar when you think about like a lot of like the big basketball cities, or even states, honestly, whether it's like New York or Chicago or LA or Seattle or whatever it is. But Florida's kind of on the map, especially with, having Montverde and the IMG Academy. So I give a lot of props to those high school programs on how they've been able to develop talent on both the boys and girls side. but it kind of gets caught under the radar. I think a lot of times when people think about Florida, they think of like, oh, it's the Sunshine State, it's palm trees and everything is all good, but it's rough out there, man, especially when you hooping out here, man. Like, and I think I learned that too. I'm not originally born in Florida, but when I moved down here to Florida, like I realized how different like just the culture is basketball wise. Like, you got to literally earn everything. Like I remember like even like when I used to play pickup, like, outside during the summertime, like it's competitive basketball literally from start to finish. Like, everybody's sweating, everybody's playing physical. You may get hit, you're not knocked down to the ground here and there. So, I mean, I just love like just the competitiveness of what it came of, like, what Florida has basketball wise. And you gotta think of like all the talent that's came out of Florida, like, that's went on to become like legends, whether it's Tracy McGrady, whether it's Vince Carter, whether it's Amari Stoudemire or whoever. Like a lot of these guys came out of Florida and they became like all-time greats, Hall of Famers, etc. So, Florida's always been able to produce, basketball at a high level, whether it's up north or whether it's down south, whether it's Miami or Fort Lauderdale or even in Tampa per se or Orlando. Like they've always been able to produce basketball at a high level.
Now, you being a basketball player yourself, and I've had Erica McCall on here on the podcast. I've had Elena Coates on here. But basketball today, in terms of skill set, what is one thing you would say is a ick that you feel like the art of basketball is not there? What would you say is gone?
A biggest ick for me, and I might get a lot of flack for saying this, but I think positionless basketball is not being utilized correctly, in my opinion. Like, I don't mind the versatility. Like, I love the fact that, you have guards who could play the post, and you have bigs who can step outside and, being able to stretch the floor and knock down threes consistently. Like, I don't mind that. I'm a big fan of that because it really puts pressure on the defense offensively, because if you're a guard that, you can't just automatically guard the perimeter. And if you're a post defender, you got to be able to step outside, which opens up a lot of driving lanes, which opens up, baseline cuts, it opens up a lot of opportunities whenever your big can play outside. But I think a lot of times, especially in today's basketball, a lot of particularly post players, in my opinion, like they get too caught into, I could play outside, so I don't have to rebound anymore, or I don't have to play with my back to the basket and really, impose my will inside. So I just wish that, we found a balance of being able to play positionless, but then also, still being able to play our natural position at the same time. And maybe that's just from me, I was obviously, growing up, I had a huge growth spurt, so I had to play the post position. So I understand the importance of the interior defense. I understand the importance of, being able to dominate the boards and everything. And I feel like a lot of teams don't necessarily do that. And it's like, I think coaches have to find that balance of, okay, cool, I understand that you can knock down shots, but you also have to be able to rebound. You also have to be able to defend, under the post. You also have to be able to be that enforcer under the rim. So I just hope that, a lot of coaches, I mean, and look, not saying that some coaches don't, but there are a lot of coaches that, don't allow the players to be disciplined as far as, really showing their versatility, but then also, being able to do what they're supposed to do as they're like at their position.
When you look at basketball, especially college, with how NIL has pretty much revolutionized, or I should say, do you wish that? Do you feel like coaches now have to walk on eggshells in terms of you speaking on like how we were talking about, like coaches have to walk on eggshells? Like, for example, when a player shoots 9 of 23, but realistically, from AAU high school going into college, you really can't criticize them. Do you feel like, especially at the college level, like coaches have to walk on eggshells?
I think so, honestly, and I think especially nowadays at the college scene, I think a lot of coaches are in just very weird positions now, especially with the NIL. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of coaches decide to step out, honestly. I mean, hell, with me covering Florida State, like just this past year, head coach Leonard Hamilton had retired after like 23, 24 years. And, obviously, I think it was time to move on. But, you also see other coaches as well, like Miami's coach ended up retiring after last year. I think Virginia's coach retired as well. So I think it is a difficulty, honestly, for a lot of coaches to adapt to this new culture of NIL, because it's like I said, I mean, a lot of players, they're coming into the program, they're feeling themselves, they were the guy at the high school level, they're taking 20 shots a game. They're being able to do whatever they want, without actually being coached. And I think, it's difficult when you are a young player, especially when you're making like millions of dollars, like making millions of dollars, like 16, 17, 18, like, let's be real, like you're not gonna want to listen to anybody, especially at that young of age, Like I'm thinking to myself, like, man, like if I was like 16, 17, 18, and I had like $1 million in my bank account, nobody could tell me nothing, honestly, man. Especially me at that young age, and I probably would not be disciplined as far as even saving my money or anything, honestly. So it's kind of hard to really coach players like that, especially when they're making that much money. And honestly, I mean, a lot of the players are making more than what the coaches are making, like in a year, honestly, or even maybe in a month or a 6 month span. So who knows? But so I think it's just difficult from that aspect. But at the end of the day, it's like when you're a coach and you're a player, like you have to see the bigger picture. Like, okay, cool. Like I'm able to capitalize and make this money now, but how can I maximize that in the near future? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to see the bigger picture with that. And I don't know. I was like, I could probably use this guy as an example. I mean, I hate to use him as an example because I'm really a big fan of his. But when you look at a player like Mikey Williams and how big of a star that he was, during high school, and then of course, he makes NIL money, and then of course, he had situation that happened, like off the court, which kind of forced him now to be under the radar. Now, look, I give a lot of credit to Mikey Williams because he's doing his thing at Sacramento State, but let's call it what it is. He's not that big of a star as he once was coming out of high school. Like this was a guy where it's like the high school gyms were packed every time he played. Like it was
Because he was
literally
committed to go to Memphis, I remember correctly.
I think so. Yeah, I think he was supposed to go to Memphis. I think he went to UCF for a little while. Now he's at Sacramento State. But I mean, you look at a guy like him, honestly, who is now kind of under the radar, honestly. And like I said, I mean, I'm not trying to diss him or disrespect him or anything. I think that he's still doing his thing. But obviously, his momentum did kind of drop compared to what he was in high school. So I think it is difficult, man. But I think that honestly, and I mean, obviously, NIL is still a very new thing. Honestly, it's kind of happened, kind of like around COVID or a little bit after COVID. So maybe it is kind of taking some more time to adapt, honestly. But also, like with the whole NIL thing, is that I think that college has to start putting restrictions on players because now we're seeing the transfer portal just be absolutely crazy. And I've seen college kids just transfer like every single year. Like I know college kids that's been to like 4 schools in 4 years, 5 schools in 4 years. Like I don't even know how that's even possible, man. Like so. Honestly, like I think there needs to be some restrictions where it's like, okay, cool, you can transfer, but it's like it gotta be like once every 2 years. Like you can't be like going to this school, then transfer, then go to the next school, then transfer, then next school, then transfer. Like it has to be some restrictions to it too. So, like I said, like I think NIL is still a very new thing, honestly, and I think that everybody's still trying to adapt. But I think hopefully in the next couple of years, it could be under control, and obviously like the players and the coaches could come to like a kind of like an understanding or an agreement as far as like really helping each other, take their games and take their teams to the next level.
I wanted to also add on to something that as well. I think one thing, especially when you're recruited to a P4 or P5 school, like sure when you're young, yeah, I get it, but you did make that commitment, but like
right.
To see like players like you said going into their 3rd, 4th year, that's ridiculous.
Right.
So, could you just speak on when you were coming along, whether high school, were there any schools that were looking at you in terms of recruitment?
I had a few small schools. I mean, I'll be honest, man. I mean, I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I'm not saying that I wasn't good, but I wasn't like 5-star recruit good. I was a pretty talented player. I think I was a very versatile player, especially as a post player. But I'll be real and say that maybe even for myself, honestly, like if I could go back and just understand like what could have been the bigger picture for me, I probably would have taken basketball a lot more serious. Not saying that I didn't take basketball serious at that time, but it's just like I wasn't always locked in the way that I should have been. Like I could have been in the gym way more than I did. I could have been lifting weights way more than I did if I would have been able to see that bigger picture for me. But honestly, especially when you're at a young age, you're worried about other things. Like you're worried about the girls, you're worried about the partying and all that, especially when you're playing basketball. And I'm just being real. I mean, especially when you're playing basketball and it's like, okay, cool. Like you're a basketball player, you're on the team. So, you're like one of the hottest guys, on campus or at the school at the time. So, when you're at a young age and you don't have that discipline, it can honestly affect you in a way. But if I could go back, I would definitely take things a lot more serious because honestly, if I would have really been locked in the way that I did and I would have just cut out all the distractions, who knows where I could have been at. But hey, at the end of the day, I'm here now, so that's all that matters.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, my one of my producers, AJ, shout out to AJ. He showed me some. Did some research. Sports Illustrated. You worked for a little bit. Did some work with the Atlanta Hawks. How did that come about?
Yeah, shout out to Sports Illustrated, man. They had reached out to me, man. I know a guy there who, he was working there for a little while. I don't know why I can't remember his name on the top of my head, especially considering that he was like one of my good friends at the time. But no, they had reached out to me. Obviously, with me writing for NBS, me writing for other outlets, they had reached out, because obviously I know the Hawks really well. I've covered Trey Young, I've covered, the entire team. That was like a little brief stint around like 2022, 23. They asked me to cover the Hawks for that season, and I was able to do it, honestly. I was able to cover the games. I was able to, really give high level analyzation on where the team was at and, what it could improve on moving forward. So I was grateful for the opportunity. I mean, it didn't necessarily last long, but, I was grateful just for that moment, honestly, because, I was able to do a lot of good things there.
Also, too, we saw in terms of the Hawks, like what if there's one thing that your time is doing when you were covering the Atlanta Hawks, who was the most unappreciated player you say that did not get the recognition that they should have gotten?
Who most underappreciated? Outside of the stars, I'd probably say Clint Capella at that time because I think he caught a lot of flack because obviously the game was changing and, we saw more, like I said, positionless basketball where we saw a lot of post players being able to step outside, bring the ball down the floor, do this and that. But honestly, I mean, at that time, the Hawks didn't need that. You had an elite point guard in Trey Young. So Clay Capella's job was to rim protect, run downhill, play in pick and roll, play with his back to the basket, be a traditional big. And I think, and look, I mean, was he always the strongest every game? No, because there were a lot of matches where he did get, outmatched by, obviously better post players. But when you look at it from an overall standpoint, Clint Capella was definitely underappreciated, and I feel like he probably should have got more respect if you ask me honestly. Especially not even just during the time with the Hawks, but even when he played with the Rockets, next to guys like James Harden, next to guys like I think Chris Paul was on the team around that time as well. So he's always been a respectable big if you ask me, and I think that his time in Atlanta was really good, even despite all the ups and downs that he went through.
This current NBA season, obviously we already seen a lot of drama. Obviously, players not showing up at a Halloween party. Players getting paid under the table for planting trees. But just what's one thing that has stood out so far this current season in the NBA for you?
Honestly, been a lot. I mean, obviously, the easiest answer would be OKC and their strong start. Honestly, I mean, when you look at just how they've been able to just regroup after winning the championship, I mean, this is the team that many people are considering like the new dynasty. I mean, there's people out there that are saying that this team is better than the 2015-16 Golden State Warriors, which I'm like, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit. But this team is a really good team, honestly. I mean, I think right now, to me, the best player in the league is by far SGA. Like when you think about what he's been able to do over the past couple of years, obviously winning MVP last year, being able to lead the team to a title last year, win Finals MVP, and then just being able to capitalize off of that with this terrific start to the season. I mean, it's just been really remarkable to me. But I think probably like the one thing that I've enjoyed watching the most is the growth of Wemby. Like Wemby's just been sensational all year long, honestly. Like he's shown like this is a superstar on our hands, honestly. Like I'm watching him play. Like I'll probably say I want to say it was probably their first game when they played Dallas. Like I'm watching Anthony Davis try to guard this guy, and Anthony Davis is one of the best post defenders in the league, if you ask me. And even he's having problems trying to guard Wemby, obviously with the height, but then also he's putting the ball on the floor. He's knocking down shots off the dribble. His footwork is immaculate, man. And it's like, how can you defend that? Like this might be like probably one of the first unguardable players ever, honestly. Like there's really no game plan to really slow him down. I mean, yeah, you can play physical with him, but hell, he's still taller than you. So he can still shoot over you. And on top of that, even if you do send a double, he's able to kick it out to find players like Devin Vassell, whether it's Stephon Castle or whoever, like Keldon Johnson. Like, so he's still able to be exactly. So I mean, he's still able to do a multitude of things on the floor, even without him scoring. So I think that's the one thing that people don't appreciate the most about Wemby is that he's still finding ways to affect the game, even outside of putting the ball in the basket. But then when he does put the ball in the basket, it just takes San Antonio to another level, honestly. So I love this new era of San Antonio that we're in right now. Obviously, we're in the the long days of Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Ginobili, they're obviously behind us. They gave us great years, but obviously, this was a lot of pressure on Wemby, to come into this franchise and really try to pick up where they left off with. And I think that he's doing it really well, honestly. And honestly, he's just getting started.
Yeah, and also too, shout out to the especially with Pop, and obviously having his he's suffering a stroke and stepping back and finding the replacement, and they've adjusted well. Everyone's definitely bought in to the system. You said SGA in terms of best player. I agree with that, but as the Joker, as that run over, is it just?
Oh no, no doubt. He's gonna always be in the conversation. He's like Joker is just like sometimes I can't even wrap my head around like the things that he's able to do. Like the fact that he can affect the game from every single perspective is just flat out insane. And then it's like you look at the numbers and it's like, wow, like we've never seen nothing like this. Like this guy had a 30-20-20 game at one point. I think it was like last year when they played Phoenix, or maybe like a year before. I can't exactly remember, but like the way that Jokic has just been able to just dominate the floor, and it's like I just feel like it's weird to see how he dominates because I feel like he doesn't really go that hard, honestly. Like I feel like if he really wanted to dominate, like he could probably put up crazier numbers. But it's like, but at the end of the day, he plays a style. He plays a style.
Yeah.
It's a smooth flow. He's able to dish the rock to open teammates. He's able to score at a high level. Like I think he does a really good job at putting the pressure on the defense and really understanding, just being aware of what's going on the floor, honestly. And I think obviously like when you have a player that does everything for their team, and they have to always be in a conversation. So until Jokic is done, like he's always going to be in the MVP conversation, and in that conversation is like best player in the league to me, easily.
Agreed. And then also with Giannis, do you feel like Milwaukee trades him before the season's over, or do you feel like they're going to ride the storm out?
I think you should ride the storm out. I don't think that you need to be in a rush to trade him, unless he does want out. Like if he does say, "Hey, I want out," if he goes up to Doc Rivers or anybody and says, "Hey, like I don't want to be here anymore," then of course you try to find a move for him. But if he's willing to be patient and find the best situation for him, because obviously anybody's going to trade for Giannis. Like anybody will put draft picks, young players on the table for a player like Giannis. He's still like in his like late 20s, early 30s, but he's still playing at a very high level, and he's still in the prime of his career, honestly. So anybody would set the table for Giannis, but it's just all about putting him in the right situation to where he can win again. Like this is a guy who did win a championship, led his team to a championship back in 2021. So the goal for him at this point is to get back to that. And where could that possibly be? Could it be in Miami? Could it be anywhere else? So, I think that's really just what it is. It's like, okay, cool. Like he may want out, or you may want to look to find a trade for him. But the best thing is just to put him in the best position where he can win.
For sure. I wanted to transition. You mentioned you covered Florida State, the Seminoles, because you guys have one of our Maryland Terrapins, Allie Quebec. What are you liking so far from the Seminoles so far this year?
It's definitely a transition season. Right now they're 4-9, I believe. So it obviously hasn't been the strongest start, and I think they're currently on like a 5-game losing streak. So it's definitely been a transition period. But when you look at everything that's been going on since last year, Tanaya Latson transfers to South Carolina, Omaria Gordon graduates, Michaela Timpson graduates as well, and now she's in the WNBA with the Indiana Fever. So your 3 best players from last year are no longer with the team. So of course that kind of sets the team back, but. I think the biggest thing about Florida State this season is just patience. I think that they have a very talented roster, if you ask me. Now, I do think that there are some players that are kind of playing out of position, but I've written on it before, and on top of that, I've told a lot of Florida State fans that have asked me their opinion. Like, I'm not expecting this team to really have a winning season. I'm not expecting this team to make the NCAA tournament or, even be one of the top contenders in the ACC. It's going to take some time for this team to really rebuild and get back into contention, honestly, because obviously the women's team, they've made the playoffs now for the past, like consecutively the past, like probably 15, 16 years. So they're so used to winning now to where you look at this season and it's like, oh man, things aren't going well. And it's like, dang, like what's going on? But I think the biggest thing is just patience. I think that Brooke Wyckoff has done a really good job as far as development and really getting the players together. And obviously, like I said, when you lose key players, especially a player that led the nation in scoring last year, you're gonna drop off, honestly. So I think the biggest thing is gonna be patience, and I think give it maybe a year or two. I think Florida State will be back in contention, honestly, because I think their next freshman class that's coming in next year. They're gonna be really, really good, honestly. So I say people, to wait on that.
But so I try to follow Allie as much as I can. How is she adjusted so far with you guys?
She's been pretty good, honestly. I mean, I haven't it's weird because obviously I watch Allie at Maryland, but now that I'm watching her at Florida State, I'm watching every game of hers. I'm just watching to see how valuable she really is, especially on the offensive end. Her 3-point shooting is really good. But also one thing that stood out to me as well is just how she's able to play in the post as well. Obviously using her size to establish position. Yep. She's really skilled around that area with her footwork. And obviously has a nice touch around the basket. So that's one thing that I do want to see a little bit more of is how we can utilize Allie a little bit more on the offensive end, but also she has to continue to be assertive. She has to continue, to hunt for a shot. She has to continue, to create open looks for herself. And honestly, I mean, if we get her more involved on the offensive end, it could take this team to another level. So I'm excited to see what's next for her.
For sure. I wanted to transition to the WNBA. Where did that love begin for you?
For me, with the W, real hoopers respect real hoopers. So that's why, I never understood how people be like, oh, I don't want to watch women's basketball because they can't dunk or anything like that. But it's like if you really love the game, it's like, you're gonna watch it regardless. So the first time I ever went to a WNBA game, it was around I want to say it was exactly 4th of July, but it was around 4th of July, maybe July 5th or 6th. It was in 2009. And it was the Indiana Fever and the Atlanta Dream. And I just remember being at that game. And it's like I didn't really know much what was going on. That was my first ever WNBA game. But I had a good time, honestly. I had a really good time. It was me and my family out there. It was dope. But I'll say when I really started to really pay attention to the W, it was probably the year after. And I remember watching the finals in 2010. It was Seattle and it was Atlanta, the finals. So I'm watching Lauren Jackson at her peak. I'm watching even players like Angel McCautry, Erica D'Souza, Sue Bird, Swing Cash was on that team as well. Mm-hmm. So, just being able to watch, just being able to really watch up close and just watch how these players work, it was just really fun. And it's crazy because that series ended up being a sweep, but every game was close. Every game was literally close, and it literally came down to the wire. So I ain't gonna lie. I think that series is still on YouTube. So if it is, I would highly advise people to watch that. But I think
that also was the Atlanta 3 straight years.
I think so too. The finals because they got to the finals, and next year that's when they lost to Minnesota as well. And by the way, that series was fun too. Just being able to watch Simone Augustus and Angel McCautry go back and forth. That was just amazing, honestly. But I mean, obviously after that 2010 year, that's when I started following. Obviously, you had the Minnesota Lynx, that was a dynasty. And then you had the Sparks with Candace Parker, NECA, Atlanta Beard. I think Chelsea Gray came a little bit later on.
Right.
Even Phoenix with Diana Taurasi, Penny Taylor, when Cabby Pondex was still a part of the team. BG ended up coming a little bit later after that as well. Chicago with Elena Della Don. So it's just me being able to just to me, the 2010s was probably my favorite era of the W. I'm not gonna lie, because that was some elite players and some elite hopes. Honestly, I mean, no disrespect to the 90s and the 2000s, but 2010s for me, just because I was watching up close, that was just amazing. But just me watching, just continuing from then on, that's why I really grew that love, honestly. And I didn't care what people thought, honestly, man, because I had people telling me yo, why are you watching this and this and that? I'm like, I'm watching good hoops, man. I don't know about you guys, man, but I'm watching good hoops, and that's how I really came about, honestly, man. And then, of course, once I started doing journalism, I say, you know what, I want to cover the W because I want to put more eyes on the W, and then everything's kind of taking off from there, honestly.
Can you give me your top 5, if you could, WNBA players?
It always changes, man, but I'll give you mine. I got Asia number 1, especially after everything that she's done. 4 MVPs, 3 WNBA championships, 3 in the last 4 years. To me, Asia's at the top, honestly. I think that Asia is the standard as far as all-time great W players.
I agree
with
that.
My second is Cheryl Swoops. When you talk about 4 titles with the Comets, 3 MVP awards. I think she got 3 Defensive Player of the Years as well. Cheryl was really a beast, honestly. I mean, even before she got to the W, when she was playing at Texas Tech and then she won that championship.
Yeah, that's
just her athleticism, her defense was just amazing. The way that she could, stop off a dime and really pull up around the mid range. I was a really big fan of Cheryl Swoops, especially when I went back and I started, watching more film of her. Number 3, I'll say Maya Moore. Just being able to watch Maya in her prime was just come on, man. It was just flat out amazing, honestly. I'm still upset at the fact that she retired at 29 years old. But just being able to watch Maya at her peak was just flat out like it's just remarkable, man. Four, I'll say Candace Parker.
Okay.
You know, Candace is generational to me, man. I mean, dating back to her time at Tennessee, winning 2 titles on her past summit, coming out the gates, you know, winning an MVP her rookie year, and just being able to lead the Sparks to a title, and then eventually leading Chicago to a title, their first title in franchise history. Like Candace was just a jack of all trades, and I think people don't really understand how dominant Candace Parker was, because I know that people may talk about, okay, cool, she wasn't that strong of a scorer because, you know, she wasn't like an elite perimeter scorer, but Candace could literally do everything. She could put the ball on the floor, she could play make, she could guard multiple positions on defense. Like she could do literally everything on the floor, honestly. And I feel like in a way her game kind of goes underappreciated, honestly. And then number five gets so tricky for me. I don't know why, man, but number 5, man, I could go so many routes, but I'll probably say Tamika Catchings. I'll say Tamika Catchings, man. Tamika Catchings with the Indiana Fever. Just literally, I mean, another player, you know, Tennessee product, a jack of all trades on the court, like an elite all-around scorer, honestly. An elite scorer, especially at her prime, honestly. And then, of course, when she won the title in 2012 after beating Minnesota, like Tamika Catchings was just that person, man. She was really her.
Yep, for sure. For sure. I agree with that. That actually was kind of like my top 5. Kind of honestly, I would have put Cynthia Cooper in there somewhere as an honorable mention.
Oh, I forgot about her, man.
But I'm not mad at your top 5.
I'm about to say Coop was a bucket, man. Coop was a bucket. Like I don't think. I mean, and you got to think about it too. Like she came into the W like kind of later on in her prime. Like I think she was like in her early 30s when she came into the league, but still won 4 straight titles and was still winning MVPs. Like, you know, honestly, in my opinion, definitely one of the top 5 greatest scorers in W history.
And I think also too, like from where I think, like especially when she was part of the comments, how they won those championships, and then they still like see them still like at a continued pace. It's kind of like with the Aces, it's kind of the same thing. It's like,
right,
gosh, like how did you guys do that? And it just speaks to like the testament, I think, just again appreciating the greatness, because especially like, you know, with DT retiring last year, you know, like Stewie's not getting any younger, you know, Age is not getting any younger. Like there's a lot of greatness. And especially, here's the thing, like these ladies, they were hoopers in college. Like for me, like the 3 to C, you know, I was infamous, but because obviously I covered the Mystics, but Taylor Hill was a part of that draft class.
Ohio State product, man. Love Taylor Hill. And
people sleep on her because her rookie year, even though she, you know, with injuries, but she was a double-digit scorer. And also, too, Tiana Hawkins came out in that draft. There was some good players.
Really? So, wasn't Taylor Hill like top 5, I think, that year?
Yeah, she was the fourth. She was the 4th overall pick.
Yeah,
because the Mystics had we had the 4th overall pick because of the year before. Because we had Mike Tebow. He was named head coach and GM, and he came in. They made the playoffs. He had Ivory Latta, Crystal Langhorne. He rebuilt that team. I'm still kind of mad he kind of got rid of Marissa Coleman, but that's okay.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
But definitely that most definitely slept on for sure. Because like I said, college, like if NIL existed then, like Skylar, Elena, Jewel.
Skylar alone, honestly, I think people forget about the impact of Skylar Diggins at Notre Dame. Like she had Drake pulling up the games. Like that's how big of a player Skylar Diggins is. It is funny because, you know, I can't believe I'm even telling the story, but I have a cousin, like he didn't watch women's basketball at all. I watched women's basketball, but he didn't watch women's basketball. But he had the biggest crush on Skylar Diggins. Like it's so funny. He had the biggest crush on Skylar Diggins. He even had Skylar Diggins as his wall screen on his phone. He probably never watched Skylar Diggins ever. I'm like, bro, what are you doing, dog? But it's like, but I mean, that's how big Skylar Diggins was, is the fact that, you know, people who didn't watch women's basketball, they were tuning. I mean, it's almost like you could say today, like with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, like people who don't even watch women's basketball, they know about these players. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how impactful they really are, especially considering, you know, what they did in college and what they're doing now in the W. Skylar Diggins was exactly that as well. And I know that people can critique Skylar's W career and how it's been.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, you can't ignore the impact that she had in college because she was by far one of the more popular players at that time.
There's actually one player I would say. I always kind of wonder how she's doing. She was actually drafted by Atlanta. Showtime Schimmel.
Oh, I know you're talking about. Yeah, I wonder too. Honestly, I haven't heard about her in ages. Honestly,
Because she was a bucket in college, and then when she got into the W, just never panned. So
yeah, I think that's the difficult thing about it is that like there's so many great college players that that won they may have won conference player of the year or they may have been like one of the top scorers in the country, but then it's like when you get to the W, it's like sometimes you need a little bit of luck in order to really make it in the W. That's why I say I appreciate a lot of these players because it's hard to get into the W, but not only is it hard to get into the W, but it's hard to be able to maintain a career. Like, so if you're in a W and you maintain a 5-year career, a 10-year career, a 15-year career, like that's a great career, honestly, because a lot of players, they don't get that opportunity. Like, I mean, now we see the expansion, like we just saw Golden State, we got Portland, and we got Toronto coming in next year and all that. But it's like there was a time where there was only 12 teams in the W, so there's only limited roster spots. So a lot of players were not getting opportunities. So that's why I always say, that's why I always appreciate players who are able to get into the W, make a roster spot, but then also be able to maintain a great career.
Exactly, especially like example like Rebecca Gardner, who oldest rookie of the year, and even oh my gosh, Madison not Madison Scott. She went to Ole Miss. Is it Madison Scott?
I think it's Madison Scott. Yeah, she went to Ole Miss last year. Yeah.
Yes, being with the Mystics this past season. So it's like little things like that. So just when your opportunities come your way, don't be afraid to take it. So
100%.
I wanted to touch base on how did you, because you're part of the Best Damn W show. Shout out to you guys, and I encourage everyone to please subscribe to the podcast. I think it's one of the best. In my opinion, especially when it comes to the WNBA season, because you is Low especially. Oh my gosh, I love Low. How did the three of you guys come about?
So it's funny, man, because like I knew both Jay and Low both separately. Like I was cool with Jay. And then I was also cool with Low at the same time. It wasn't never like, it wasn't always just all three of us cool together. It was like I was cool with Low on the side, but then I was also cool with Jay on the side. And both of them came on my last podcast that I did called For the Love of the Game. They both came on. They both made their own appearance. They were like really great episodes. Great conversations. And I think it was like shortly after those episodes, Jay put me and Low in a group chat, and he messaged us and he was like, "Hey, I got this new WNBA show idea, would you guys love to be a part of it?" If you ask Low will tell you that I responded within like 2 seconds. Like I don't remember exactly that's how it went, but I do remember both of us saying yeah. So I mean, we both agreed to it, and then of course we exchanged numbers, and then that's kind of how it all started from there. So it's funny because after we agreed to do it, we didn't start the show till probably maybe 4, 5, 6 months after that. So it was like an idea, but we didn't put it into action until later on. But I think honestly that was very beneficial for us because that's how we started to really build the chemistry. We started talking to each other every day. We're checking up on each other, in our personal lives and everything. So what y'all see now on the show with us, on our chemistry and everything, of us being really cool. And I think that's the thing that makes us so great is that we're really friends in real life. Like we really consider ourselves like family at this point. Me and Low, we traveled to Chicago last year to go visit Jay for his birthday.
That's right.
And we did a live show out there. So and I really appreciate it too because I've done podcasts where it's like, okay, cool. Like I know sports and you know sports. Cool. Like we'll come on here and we'll talk sports, but it's like after that we may not even talk again to the next episode. Like once we get done with the episode, like we're texting in our group chat immediately after. Like that's how much we really rock with each other, honestly. So I think that's been super dope, honestly. But to see how much the show has grown over the last year it's been a blessing. I'm not gonna lie. Like I knew that we had something special, but to see people tune in with us every Tuesday, and even honestly before we even go live, like there's people in the comments that are waiting for us to go live. Like it's just crazy. But to see how much people really rock with us, and to see all the supporters like continue to show up every week. I mean, I'm super grateful for that, and that's part of the reason why I always want to show up and be at my best, because I know that everybody's watching.
And also, too, I can't forget about Wiley. Shout out to Wiley.
Shout out to Wiley. Yeah, Wiley ended up coming on later on, man. And he's been a phenomenal phenomenal addition to the team, honestly, man. I mean, he started out as a fan as well. He was in the comments, supporting us and everything, and then Jay ended up adding him on. And I'll be real, man. I don't think there's many other producers that are really messing with Wiley, man. I mean, not saying that other producers aren't great, man, but the way that Wiley prepares for every single show. I mean, all of us prepare for the show, obviously every week, but the way that Wiley prepares with the sounds, with just everything, like the sound effects and everything, like Wiley's timing with sound effects is literally crazy. Like whether it's the whole like Kendrick Lamar is not enough. Or
the Kawhi laugh.
Kawhi laugh, yeah, like his timing is just impeccable, honestly. And it's like sometimes I don't even catch it, because I mean I'm like so much in the zone, like I won't even catch it until like afterwards when I watch the show. But Wiley's super incredible, man. I mean, the four of us have done something incredible together, man. I'm super happy about it, and we're still going to. We're just getting started. For sure.
And like I said, when you guys first started doing the show, I've been a fan of it.
Appreciate that,
and it continue to do great things with it for sure. And I wanted to touch base on that, because one thing that I've even asked other journalists that I've had on here, such as Megan Hall, Kareem Copeland. I did a phone interview with him last year, and a couple other journalists. How do you guys kind of block out that block out the critics, the haters? Because especially I know with last year's W season, even the year before, trolls, ignorance. How do y'all how do you tolerate that?
Honestly, to tell you the truth, we laugh about it. We really laugh at it, honestly. I mean, when people say stuff about me, when people say stuff about Jay or Lo or Wiley, like we'll send it to each other in the group chat, and then we'll just laugh about it, because it's like, yo, like these people are absolutely crazy. Me, like I always understood, like if I was gonna cover sports, that I had to have thick skin, because not everybody's gonna agree with you. Like, so you can give like a super great analysis on a player or a team, and then you'll have that one player, or excuse me, you'll have that one person, or you may have like a group of people that won't agree. Like for instance, like just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the WNBA draft, and we were talking about who could possibly go number one. I'd say that AZ Fudd should not go number one. Now look, I didn't say that AZ Fudd was a bad player. Right. I like AZ Fudd. I think AZ Fudd is a phenomenal player, and I even explained that, on the show. But as soon as I said that, you have UConn fans flooding, my mentions. A couple of them got my DMs like, yo, you're crazy, you're disrespectful, this and this and this and that. I don't get too bothered by it. The only reason why is because, and it's crazy because I remember one time I was talking to my aunt, because I keep in touch with I talk to my aunt all the time, and she's always trying to, keep updated about everything that I got going on. And she always I always tell her, like, when people get mad at me on Twitter and all that, and she pretty much explained to me, like, I mean, they could get mad at you, for your takes and all that, but they don't know you as a person.
Exactly.
So that's one thing that I always try to think of. It's like, okay, cool. If you don't like me based off of my sports opinions or my analysis, then cool. Like, you don't have to like me. You don't have to be here. But at the end of the day, it's like trying to call me out of my name or try to say this and that about me. Like a lot of things that people say about me is 100% not even true whatsoever. Like, I'm like, yo, like, you guys really think that y'all know me as a person because of what y'all see, whether it's on the show or whether it's on social media. But it's like, y'all don't really know me in real life. So I'll say that though, man. I think that the one thing about us is that we all have thick skin, and honestly, like, we just laugh about it because it's like, okay, cool. Like, if you don't agree, cool. But at the end of the day, we still going to give y'all our opinion.
My friend AJ, he just texted me. He wants us to create chaos. We're sending an open invitation to you, and anybody else from the Best MW show with help with this WNBA mock draft that I've been working on, because I think especially honestly, listen, the first 5 picks, they're all toss-ups at this point, because I don't know, like, first and foremost, I don't even know if we even have a WNBA season 1.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the way, like, it's been back and forth. Now they can go on strike or whatever they want to. How does the current bigs for Dallas, as an example, like, I will say this: the players, I will say the top 5 players, in my opinion, currently, all do something impactful,
right,
at their position. The question is, with on the rosters for each of on the lottery right now, what do those current players, how could they make that rookie, the potential rookie for that team better? So, example, what does Louisa do differently that Lauren Betts doesn't do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what does my gosh, she plays for Minnesota. She's from Russia.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't know. I'm blanking out.
Anastasia.
I think so. I'm blanking out the name too.
Like, what does she do differently than the young lady from Spain?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like little things I gotta take into consideration when it comes to that. So
right. And then also, like, when you just look at the situation too, like, it's all about fit, if you ask me. I feel like that's been like what the draft is really for. Like, for instance, Minnesota has a number 2 overall pick. Does Minnesota need to like get a lottery player? Not necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Like, they could, I mean, no, look, who knows what they're gonna do? They may keep it or they may trade that pick. Who knows? But if they are gonna decide to keep the pick, they're not going to go for like, oh, like this player is so and so, like the most popular player in the draft or the best player in the draft. Like, no, they're going to go with the player that's going to fit that team most, because you already have your franchise star in Afisa Collier, and this is a team that, you know, obviously this year didn't end out the way that they wanted to, but they were just in the finals a year ago when they faced the Warriors. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like this team is still going to be in contention, honestly. So it's not like this is a team that's rebuilding and needs to start over and need to find their next star. Like, no, if they are going to keep that pick, they're going to have to find the best player that is going to fit that team and help take that team to that next level as far as being in championship contention.
You well, and Cheryl did say at the draft party that they were majority role players, and I'm thinking, I mean, some, but everybody does have a role,
right?
But I think to say role players, like,
I'm about to say, because it's like Courtney Williams. I mean, I know Courtney Williams is not like a top 10 player in the league, but like to say that she's a role player with what she brings, like the different dynamics of scoring and playmaking for that team, like I can't put her in that category, respectfully.
Exactly. Like saying I can't say Lauren Betts is a role player. I can't really say
right.
I can't say I would never say AZ is a role player. Like they're impactful players, but
right.
They have a role that it's gonna be interesting. I think this class and next year's class,
it's gonna be fun. But I will say this though too, man. And I've said this before. I've probably tweeted it out before, but I feel like in the next probably like 3 to 5 years, I think we're about to get like the best era of guards in the WNBA. Yes. When you think about, obviously this year you got AZ Fudd, you got Tanaya Latson, you got Flau'jae Johnson. Next year you're getting Hannah Hidalgo, Juju Watkins, Madison Booker, other players as well, and then 2028 as well. So I feel like what we're seeing now, because obviously the W's always been like kind of a post league. Like when you talk about like players like Lisa Leslie, Tina Thompson, Lauren Jackson, and then I mean, of course, in this area you got Asia, Stewie, Fee, Alyssa Thomas. So I feel like in the next couple of years, like I think we're gonna see like the era of like the best guards in WNBA history. Not saying that we never had great guards in W history, but I don't think guards have ever really dominated the league like the post players have.
You think Juju is going to declare for the draft next year?
I think so, honestly. I think so. I know a lot of people will probably say that she won't, because considering, you know, obviously her recovery from an ACL tear, she's going to redshirt this year. But in my opinion, like if she has a spectacular season next year, especially coming back off the injury, I would see why not, honestly. I mean, I feel like even before the injury, she was league ready. So coming back, she's really good. I mean, obviously she'll have to shake off some rust, but if she's able to have a spectacular season next year, I think that she can declare.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. For this past WNBA season, did you have a favorite moment?
Man, that's a lot, man. Favorite moment, honestly. If I had to really break it down, honestly, I'm still stuck on how the Aces turned the season around. Like, they come off losing by 53 to the Minnesota Lynx. And then somehow, like, a switch just happened. Because I'll be real, at that point, I was like, well, it's got to be cooked at this point. Like, even with Asia,
you did say that,
yeah, even with Asia having a phenomenal year, and you know, but I was like, you know what, like, it's just not the Aces' time. Somehow, some way, they just flipped it around. They won the rest of the regular season games. I know that they struggled a little bit in that Seattle series, but to come back and turn their season around the way that they did, and then eventually sweep the Phoenix Mercury for the title. Like, I'm still amazed by that, honestly, because I don't think we've ever seen nothing like that in sports history, especially in basketball. Honestly, I mean, you lose a game by 50 during the regular season, and you come back and you still win a championship. Like, I've just never seen nothing like it, honestly. I mean, that's probably like the biggest takeaway that I have. But I give a lot of credit to a lot of players because a lot of players have phenomenal seasons. Like Nafisa Collier was phenomenal this season for Minnesota.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know that she ended up getting hurt, and obviously getting hurt did hurt her chances of winning MVP. But Nafisa Collier was putting up great numbers, honestly. 50,
Yeah.
49. I see your face. I know you feel away. I know you probably have a different opinion.
Right.
But honestly, I mean, like, she had a phenomenal season. I mean, another player as well that I think that needs to be highlighted a lot more is Alicia Gray with Atlanta.
Absolutely.
Like,
I agree
Alicia Gray, and honestly, not even just with the W season. Like, she had a great unrivaled season as well. I was thought it's crazy because we just had Brendan Glassine. He's a play-by-play announcer for Unrivaled. And I was talking to him about, I was like, yo, like, Alicia Gray's had a great overall 2025 year in general. Like, had a great season at Unrivaled. Coming to the WNBA, you're an MVP candidate. You lead Atlanta to the top 3 seed in the league. Like, Alicia Gray took her game to different heights this year, and I feel like that needed to be highlighted more. So there's so many moments when you think about this W season that you can talk about, but like, just to see like the growth of Asia, the growth of Alicia Gray, the growth of Fee, even AT with Phoenix in her first year. I mean, just being able to lead the team to the finals, like, it was just remarkable, honestly, man. And it kind of hurts that there may be a chance that we may not have a season next year because I ain't gonna lie, the summer's not gonna be the same without the W. If
I agree. I agree. I agree with all those sentiments except the finals, which I was it just was matchups. I think from the moment from game 1, I'm like, oh yeah, this is over because I just like those matchups.
Well, I don't know, honestly, because I mean, Phoenix was up most of that game. So they could have legitimately had a chance at winning that game, honestly. I just think that, I feel like, obviously, I want to say that was the same game where ATM missed both of those free throws. Like, just like the late game execution just wasn't the best, honestly.
Right.
And then that was the reason why they lost.
And then Tibbetts, like his lack of adjustments, like, you're a little bit more effective with Kalani Brown on the court, and you go away from that, and just and then obviously, even that, but also too, don't give AT most definitely, especially her first year. But I think, a friend of mine was talking. We were having a conversation about this as well. Satu really blossomed, especially
she did,
coming from Dallas, which I feel like she was already at an all-star level because people forget Dallas was in the conference finals. So, all-star, most improved player, and then now here you're on a new team playing alongside AT. Like, she was a part of that their success this year. So it sucked to see how she went down.
100%.
So and Fee as well. I mean, Fee, I give her flowers. One hell of a season. For me, was the conversations in terms of MVP, I thought were a little disingenuous because, like, when a reporter comes out and says, well, I voted for Fee because essentially Asia it's not going to score 1,000 points. I'm paraphrasing it almost.
Yeah, that was just dumb. Like, to be honest, that was absolutely insane to even say that.
So this year, are you guys with the best WNBA show? Are you guys doing Unrivaled, covering them?
Yeah, we are. So we're trying to figure out our situation because we were doing Unrivaled games on playback last year.
Yep.
But obviously playback is no longer a thing anymore. So now we're trying to I think Jay is now going to start covering games on StreamYard now because I think he did a USC and UConn last week on StreamYard. So I think that's going to be the new way of us covering games and just really being able to stream games. Because I know that people loved our playbacks. It was a great time. We watched the games, had a lot of great moments, honestly. So I think that's going to be the new route now. I'll have to talk more with him about it. But yeah, we'll definitely be covering Unrivaled this year.
Is there a team, an Unrivaled, that you like? Because they added 2 new teams.
I got a couple teams that I like. First, I'll start with Breeze. Like, I like Breeze's versatility, honestly. I mean, when you talk about the scoring, you got Paige Beckers and Rakia Jackson on your team. 2 elite
That's a
scores,
cheat
elite
code.
young scores. Like, it's absolutely insane to me. But also, when I was talking with Brandon too in our last episode, I was like, their defense is really going to be good too, because you have Ari McDonald playing point guard. She's really a great on-ball defender.
Yep.
Paige Burgess is a great perimeter defender as well. They got a couple other players that can really get to it on defense as well. So I think Breeze is going to catch a lot of people by surprise. And then I'm also interested in final as well, because obviously you bring back Ryan Howard, and then you also bring back De'Erica Hamby. Yep. I know you do lose Aaliyah Boston, but you also added on Brittany Griner as well. Another BG's kind of, towards the end of her prime in basketball career, but BG has still shown that she can be effective. And I think De'Erica and Brittany Griner are really going to be great together as like that post duo, honestly, because De'Erica is very versatile. BG can be versatile as well. And I think that those two are going to be able to connect at a very high level. So those are really two teams that I'm looking forward to, is Vinyl and Breeze.
I did have a question, because I did see that with the Hive, that team, is that going to be a small ball lineup?
I think so. I'm trying to remember what the roster looks like in particular, but it might honestly be that.
Because it was Kelsey Mitchell, Sony Citron, Ezzie Magna-McGore, Monique Billings, Sanaya Rivers.
It might be, honestly. Honestly, I mean, when you look at that roster, that's a pretty good roster too, honestly. Really good roster.
And then pretty much everyone maintained their roster from last year.
Pretty much, yeah. But then also too, like, I mean, I'm also excited about other teams as well, because I think Phantom now has Kelsey Plum. Kelsey Plum was actually supposed to play last year in our rival, but she had some personal issues that she had to deal with off the court. So now she's back this year. I think that they're going to be really good. I would love to see what the defending champs look like, the Rose. Obviously, you do lose a player like Angel Reese, who was a big piece of that team last year, but you still have Chelsea Gray, who was the Finals MVP. You have Kalia Copper, you have Lexi Hull, Azari Stevens, but then you also added Shakira Austin to, I mean, as long as she stays healthy, she can provide a lot of versatility on the team. So I'm really excited about that. And then other teams as well, like Miss. Like Miss is looking to really regroup this year. Obviously, you have the same players as Stewie, but then you add other great talent as well. So obviously, it was kind of a disappointing season for them last year. So I'm really looking to see how much they bounce back this year, which I think that they can.
Quick follow-up. Is Tiffany Mitchell replacing Satu as she's still recovering from her concussion?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, I know that they announced that Satu was going to be out for at least maybe the first couple of weeks of the season, but I don't know who exactly was going to be her replacement. Okay,
because I wasn't sure how that was going to work, because when they said that, I was like, what, still, like, because the finals was,
I know, yeah,
was what, almost
a couple months ago, almost two, or probably around 2 months ago.
So I wasn't sure about that, and I mean, it should be good. I thought about doing credentials just to kind of just to see how it looked, but I think I might miss the deadline for it. So,
I mean, you might still be able to get some, honestly. I mean, I know that the season's still a couple weeks from starting, but I mean, you could definitely try to get on. I mean, especially if you can get on some of those Zoom calls. Like, I would try to see if I would try to see if you still can.
Okay, bet. What other thing I had here? Oh, yes. With women college basketball as a whole, what are you liking so far from the season? Where some teams have played 14 games, some teams have played 13.
Been a lot of high-level basketball, honestly, man. I guess you could say one of my biggest takeaways so far is, I'll be honest, man, I don't think anybody's beat UConn. Like, UConn is just way too good of a team, honestly, man. I mean, obviously being the reigning champs, but you come into this year, honestly, and I even talked about it too, because I know that obviously you lose a big piece in Paige Beckers, who ends up going to the W, but this team is stacked with talent, honestly. I give a lot of credit to Gino. I mean, people may feel a way about Gino, but the one thing that he can do is recruit, and he knows how to build a system with all the right pieces to the puzzle. Like, you talk about Sarah Strong, but then you also add on Sarah Williams, who came in from Wisconsin last year. AZ Fudd still a part of that team. You have players like Ashlyn Shade. You have players like, I think her name is Keonis, who's coming off the bench for that team. You have KK Arnold. So it's like you have great pieces to this puzzle who understand their roles and understand how to play it to perfection, honestly. I mean, obviously everything starts with Sarah Strong. You know, Sarah Strong, I mean, she was already my National Player of the Year before the season began, but just being able to see how she's been able to impact the game from so many perspectives, it's just been amazing to watch. I still don't see the Maya Moore comp, just my opinion, But she's a dynamic player, honestly. I mean, her passing alone is just something that really stands out to me, and just how she's able to find open players. But it's also because she draws so much attention from the defense, so it opens up an opportunity for an AZ foot to cut baseline, or an AZ foot to really find her spots in the corner or along the wing, or even a player like Ashlyn Shea to be able to cut baseline or be able to cut down the middle. So like Sarah Strong's, just her versatility, just her talent alone opens up so much opportunities for other players to score as well. So that's one of my biggest takeaways, is UConn still being one of the best teams in the league. Excuse me, not in the league, in the country. But I'll be real, like another team that I could see, I don't know if they'll win the national championship, but they definitely have a shot at possibly getting there to the national championship game, and that's Texas. Like Texas has been really good to start this season. I'll probably say like the wake up for me with them was the South Carolina game. And I know that game was close. And I know that at one point South Carolina took control of the game, because I want to say South Carolina won up by like 8 points, like around like the third quarter. But just watching how more disciplined this team is, how more efficient this team is. And it really starts with your top two players, like Rory Harmon coming off of injury now. Obviously, she's a lot more mobile now than what she was last year. And she's really being able to do a multitude of things at a high level, score at a high level, get to the paint at a high level, been able to play make at a high level, defend as well. So she's doing great things for that team. Madison Booker as well. Like Madison Booker is definitely more efficient this year compared to what she was last year.
Yep.
And just her unselfishness has been able to stand out to me too. Is like, how she's able to create opportunities for players like Justice Carlton or a Jordan Lee or a Kyla O'Daker. Like just being able to put and instill that trust in your teammates to be able to play their role has been a huge leap in her game, honestly. And I mean, if you talk about like National Player of the Year candidates, like she has to be in that conversation, if you ask me. Then there's like other teams as well that stood out to me. Like for instance, like Iowa's like top, I think 15 right now in the country. Maryland, I know you cover Maryland. They've been, I mean, even despite like everything that they went through as far as injuries. I mean, I know that you guys just lost Kylie Smichael, but even just being able to find ways to just still come out on top. Like Alicia Conwa, like when y'all got her from Duke last year, I was like, yeah, Brenda Freese. Yeah, that's a steal right there. And
she is my Big Ten Player of the Year.
I can see that. I mean, I can honestly see that. I mean, dude, like, bro, just that Minnesota game alone, to be down 8-9 points with like 40 seconds left and still find a way to win. I'm like, yo, like I've never seen nothing like this ever, honestly. So Maryland, I know that Maryland's been going through a lot of their issues as far as injuries, but they've still shown to me that they're still one of the top teams in the country. I mentioned Iowa. I know that teams like USC and Notre Dame have kind of dropped off a little bit, but overall it's been some high level basketball to start the year. And with conference play being around the corner in the next like couple weeks or so, it's gonna be fun to watch.
Now, I'm gonna ask you this question because I feel like this is just my opinion, as well. I would say opinion. This is my one thing, I guess, my ick. I think with how coaches schedule, their teams for the season, conference and then the non-conference. Obviously, non-conference, we all could agree on that. The non-conference helps it doesn't matter if you're starting 5 or you're the 6th man or the 12th man come off the bench. It's helping you to develop. Do you have an issue with how some of the non-conference games, how some teams schedule the non-conference games?
I do, honestly, because at the end of the day, it's like you want to put your team in the best position to compete with the best teams in the country, honestly. Like, I mean, look, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with scheduling like smaller teams, because at the end of the day, that's beneficial for both, like obviously like the Power 4, Power 5 team, but then it's also beneficial for the smaller team as well, who's coming in and they've never seen a player or they've never seen a team like that highly caliber. So it also does help them. So it definitely helps both sides. But when your schedule is pretty much like when your schedule is pretty much like non-competitive for the most part, like I do have a problem with that. More so, like I said, I mean, for instance, like LSU, like, I mean, as much as talented as LSU has been, like when you look at a lot of the teams that they played, honestly, I mean, let's be real, like they're not up to par with them, honestly. And they're winning a lot of those games by like 60, 70, 80 points. Like, we have to make games a little bit more competitive. And on top of that, like you have to use non-con to your advantage, honestly, because who knows? Like these are teams that you're going to have to see in a tournament potentially. Like for instance, like LSU played Duke like a couple weeks back. that could be a team that you see in the tournament now. I don't know, honestly, because I mean, Duke hasn't really gotten off to the best start, but who knows? Maybe they could turn their season around and possibly make the tournament. Who knows? But like that's a caliber team that you may have to see in the tournament. And if you do end up seeing them in the tournament, you can look back and say, and look, obviously, teams in December and March are totally different, but you can look back on those games and be like, okay, cool. Like, this is how we beat them, or hey, this is how we need to adjust playing against them, this, that, this, and this, and that. Like, the fact that we already played them, that kind of gives us an advantage, honestly. And then, honestly, as well, like, it also prepares you for conference play as well, because, when you're playing like lower tier teams, and then it's like you go into conference play, and then you're playing these other high level teams. I just feel like it doesn't necessarily prepare you, honestly. So I would love to see better scheduling from all teams. I know that I pointed out one team in particular, LSU, but I mean, there's a lot of teams as well. That are not scheduling like high level teams. And I personally want to see more of that, honestly, because if you're a Power 4, Power 5 team, you should be wanting to schedule your teams against the best teams in the country.
So could you give an example of what a non-conference schedule could look like, where it's competitive, but at the same time, it's not
as overwhelming or hectic?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like there has to be a balance. Like I said, I mean, I'm not saying that you have like for instance, like let's say like I don't know, I'll say I'm like South Carolina. Like, I don't want to have to always schedule USC or Notre Dame the next game or this and that. I mean, obviously, Don Staley has shown us that she can schedule a great competitive non-conference schedule, but at the end of the day, it's like, we don't have to see teams like that literally every game, but it's like there just has to be a balance of, okay, we're playing other Power 4, Power 5 schools, but then we can also, look at these other smaller schools and then, give them the opportunity to play us and really show and really let them really get a chance to see them and see what they're really made of, honestly. That's one thing. Like, and one thing I will say is, like, and I want to give credit to this coach too, because this coach definitely does it really well as well. And I'll give credit to Coach Yo, because Coach Yo really does a good job at scheduling smaller schools. But not only does she schedule a smaller school, like, she'll actually go travel to their city. Like, for instance, like Ole Miss played Alabama A&M in their home floor. They played Memphis on their home floor. So they're giving these other schools an opportunity to be able to go into their home, but then also, help them out, whether it's like ticket sales or whatever it is. So you have to look at it from those broader perspectives as well. So, like I said, I'm not saying that like these big schools have to always schedule like Power 4, Power 5 schools like throughout the whole non-con, but it has to be more of a balance, if you ask me.
I agree with you. I got two more for you. Okay. This next one is, what is some advice you could give to those who are aspiring to get in the field of writing, or when they get in the space of covering women's sports, or even covering the NBA, or any sports period?
Be authentic. Definitely be authentic. And then, of course, stay true to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, definitely, because I mean, I'll be real. Like, the way that I talk basketball and the way that I write and everything is definitely different from other people. And even like in the beginning, I often question myself, like, dang, like, I'm not doing the same things that this person's doing, or the same thing and the same thing that person's doing. Like, comparison is really a thief of joy, honestly. But the one thing I will say is that, like, I had to really grow more comfortable with myself in this space, because I knew what I was capable of, and I knew, like, what I was doing was really good. And look, if people don't support you right away, you'll eventually get supporters, in the long run. It's all about the long game, if you ask me. So yeah, definitely stay authentic, definitely stay true to yourself, but also just, do this for the right reasons, honestly, because I know a lot of media people personally who have shown me that, they don't do this for the right reasons. Like, a lot of it's for clickbait, a lot of it's, made up stories and everything. And I've seen it literally with my own two eyes, honestly, just people making up false accusations or just like false news on something. So definitely do this for the right reasons. Because I will say this as well, like, there are a lot of journalists that are covering basketball to where they're just doing it for a job. You know what I'm saying? They have a degree in communications and journalism. They're just doing this just to do this, honestly. Like, I don't feel like we have a lot of people in this space that are truly passionate about basketball. They may do it for, for the drama. They may do it for, a lot of the outside noise. But, like, we have to get back to really covering hoops based on the product on the floor, honestly. And I think we need more passionate people in this space. So that's the one thing I will say, be authentic, be true to yourself. And then, of course, make sure you're doing this for the right reasons.
I like that. And I always end it off on a positive question for those that I interview on the podcast. But Nick, can you please tell us what is your why, sir?
My why, man. I mean, I can go into a lot of that, man. I mean, I'll say this, man. I think one of the biggest, especially as I get older, um, I want to represent my family really well. Honestly, I want to make sure that I'm making my family proud with this thing. Obviously, for people who know me, I lost my mom when I was 17 years old. And I mean, that definitely still sticks with me to this day. So I'm always thinking about what my mom would be telling me right now, or, what conversation we would be having right now, and everything. So I try to always think about that and keep that in the back of my mind. But then also the rest of my family as well. I know that they may not always watch every podcast episode. They may not check out every article that I may write or anything like that, but I do know that they are paying attention, and I want to make sure that I'm representing not only my family but myself at a very high level. So that's probably what I will say. That's probably what I will say is my why, honestly.
I like that. I respect that. And you know, one thing I've learned is that no matter what, especially giving positive affirmation to yourself, you
Hmm.
know, people, friends, family are proud of you no matter what. So
Right, and
always
then
keep
also I'll add something else in as well. As part of my why. I don't have any kids as of right now. I don't know if that's possibly in the future, but if it is in the future, I want to
Mhm.
just be an inspiration to my kids. You know what I'm saying? Just, just be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. Like, what I'm saying? If you're passionate about something, you go for it. And it is like they don't have to follow my footsteps as far as, cover sports. Whatever it is that they want to do, just be passionate about it, love it, be authentic about it, and then just go on for it.
Agreed. I like that. I like that. Any upcoming stuff on your end uh, that you want the fans to know about?
Yeah, I got a lot of things coming up, man. Obviously, Best MW show. We're on a Christmas break right now. We'll be back, I believe, January 6th, I believe. So, definitely check us out in the new year. But as far as me writing, obviously I'm always writing for different outlets. Obviously I write for obviously our blog, the Best MW show. Make sure to check that out on Substack. I still write for Team MBS, so check us out on there. And then I also have my own like articles that I release individually or something like that. So be on the lookout for that, man. 'Cause I got a lot of things coming up in 2026 that I've been working on throughout this year. So I got a lot of dope things, and I have a couple series that I'm working on as well, especially for W fans. So be on the lookout for that.
For sure, for sure. Oh my gosh, I forgot your podcast, For the Love of the Game. Speak on that real quick.
Yeah, so I need to go ahead and reboot it back, man. For the Love of the Game was something that I started back in 2023, I believe. It was just really my outlet to just talk sports. I was able to
Mhm.
just do it at an individual level. Just being able to talk sports or just not talk sports, but just talk basketball, cover NBA, WNBA, college, just be able to do everything at a high level basketball wise, and just to have seen how much success that it did get in like the year 2 years that I did have it was just super amazing. I did end up stopping it, unfortunately. I mean, not like forever, but just temporarily, just because of just how successful the Best Damn W show was, and just
Sure.
being able to see how everything was going on there. I was like, you know what, like I want to put my full focus into this show because I see what we have brewing here. So uh, I'm hoping to bring back For the Love of the Game in 2026, hopefully soon. But as of right now, I got the Best MW show, and then I have everything else going on right now. So just be in tune. Like there's a lot of things coming in 2026.
I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it. Ladies, I'll make sure to have all the links in the description where you can follow Nick, especially on Twitter, Substack for the writers for the Best MW show, especially the links for Team MBS Media where we both write, as Nick already stated. But continue to do great things, Nick. We're gonna link up again soon.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
but Merry Christmas to you.
Merry
Hope
Christmas, brother.
absolutely, and happy. I wish you a restful holiday. I hope Santa treats you well and the rest of the family.
Most definitely.
um, we got some great basketball, great football. So take the time, relax. You deserve it. Keep up the great work, and I can't wait to see what you guys do in 2026.
Yes, sir. Likewise, brother. Likewise.
Yes, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude this episode of the Big Name Sports Talk podcast. Please like, comment, and subscribe for our future content. And I will see you guys in episodes 480, 481 with the Ravens and Commanders as we get ready with the last 2 weeks of NFL football, which That should be interesting. But enjoy the rest of the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe, and we'll talk soon. Peace. Stay out.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you. It's Friday night and I hit up the crew. Grab the keys, jump in my ride, cruise the town and find something new. Hit the club, the DJ's got the dance floor in a groove, and none of that compares to when I turn around and saw you. I can't understand it, girl. How you do the things I'm watching you do. While we're in this club, hey, all I wanna do is dance with you. I wanna dance with you. The moment that I saw your face, I knew I wasn't leaving till I got a chance to know you. But I'm still nervous, trying not to lose my cool. So I'm stuck sitting watching you.